All right, so this is part 2 of your practice problems. I wanted to make it into 2 different videos because there's just a lot going on in this video, and so it just seemed better that you could maybe take a break after that first one and then come back ready to tackle these questions here, okay? So before we even get started, take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. You got it, okay? I know y'all can do it. All right, so the next one we are going to be dealing with is kind of all of these are a mixture between the negative exponents and the zero exponent. And so I don't know why they kind of split them up, but here we go. All right, so first thing I notice is I've got a division problem here and I've got a negative exponent. So basically anytime you see a negative exponent, you just need to know you're going to flip it to the other side of the fraction. So if it's in the denominator and it's a negative exponent, you're going to move it to the numerator. If it's a negative exponent in the numerator, you're going to move it to the denominator. Okay, so this is going to now become 2 squared, and that 2 to the negative 3 is now going to go up to the top. You're going to be multiplying it. It'll be 2 to the 3rd power. Okay, so we just took it and we moved it up to the numerator. Okay, and then that's just all going to be considered over 1. So you can draw that. Okay, now we got to remember all the way back to our very first multiplication of exponents. If they have the same base, which they do, they have 2 and 2, then you're going to take the exponents and you're going to add them together. All right, so we have a base of 2. 2 plus 3 is 5, and so that would equal 2 to the 5th power, which I can't think. I almost said it was 125, which I know is incorrect. 32. Okay, so the answer would be 32. Woo! See, not too bad. Okay, baby steps. Here we go. Next one, number 2. All right, so I see I have a division problem, and I also notice I have a negative exponent. Okay, so if you have a negative exponent, depending on where it is, you move it to the opposite. Okay, so I have a negative exponent in my denominator, so I'm going to move it to my numerator. So that's now I'm going to keep this m, and I'm going to be multiplying it by this one. So that m gets moved to the numerator, and the exponent becomes a positive. Okay, just like we did over here. Okay, that negative 3 became a positive 3. All right, and then that's understood to be over 1. So now we just simplify it. Okay, so just like in the last one, I remember all the way back to my multiplying exponents. If they have the same base, then you take your exponents and you add them together. So that's going to be m to the 5th power. And if it's over 1, you don't even really have to put that. So there you go. All righty, next one. All right, so you notice that the numbers are really weird because how I copied and pasted it onto this app. I don't know, guys. Just bear with me. So we'll just go. We'll do these. Here's the correct order of numbers. All right, so next we have p to the negative 8 with p to the positive 8. Okay, so I noticed that this time my numerator has the negative exponent. So since it's in the numerator, I'm now going to switch it and put it in my denominator and then make my exponent positive. So since I'm taking everything out of the numerator, that now just becomes 1, just like we did in the other ones. And then I keep my p to the 3, I believe that's a 3. All right, and then that becomes p times p to the 8. Okay, so we just make that exponent positive. Okay, so everyone sees that first step. All right, now we simplify it. So that 1's going to stay the same. I know that if I am multiplying exponents and they have the same base, then I take my exponents and I add them together. So that's going to be p 3 plus 8 is 11. And that would be your final answer. Y'all may keep seeing me look down. I have the answer key, making sure that I'm showing you right on here. I've already worked all these out. All right, now next one, you notice they gradually get a little bit harder, okay? So this time I have a negative in my numerator and I have a negative in my denominator. So you're just going to flip-flop those both around, okay? So that's now going to equal b to the positive 5 over b to the positive 4, okay? Because you had to switch both of them around and then make both of them positive. All right, now thinking back to our rule, if I have a division problem and they have the same base, then I take my exponents and I subtract them. So I keep my same base of b. 5 minus 4 is 1, or you could just simply leave it as b. Boom. Okay, so not so bad. That's our level 1 problems. Stay with me. We got this, okay? Number 5. Okay, so first thing I notice is I've got some negative exponents and I've also got a 0. Okay, so there's a little bit more going on here. Let's just start off there. Well, anytime we see anything raised to the 0 power, we know that's equal to 1. So we can just kind of get rid of that. It just all equals 1 because you're taking all of this and taking it to the 0 power, so that's just going to equal 1. All right, next thing I notice is I have this 4, so I can leave that down there, and then I've got w to the negative 1. So since it's a negative, I'm going to move it to my numerator, so that's going to be w to the 1, and then I've got y squared. Okay, so I have 1w divided by 4y squared. I don't know. One second. My 4 can be a little bit closer to the rest of it. Okay, since these are different bases, I can't simplify any further. Okay, I can't subtract those exponents. I can't do anything else. So my final answer is just w divided by 4y squared. Okay, not bad. All right, now there's multiple things going on in this one. Okay, so bear with me as I explain all of them. There's a lot of rules you have to remember in order to simplify these. Okay, so first I noticed that that's a 3, kind of hard to see. So first I noticed that it's getting squared, everything inside the parentheses, so I have to distribute that first. And then I'm also noticing that I have a negative exponent here. Okay, so I'll have to deal with that as well. So if I have a negative exponent, I'm taking all of it and I'm moving it to the numerator. Okay, that's going to leave me with nothing in my denominator. So I'll have a squared b to the 3rd power squared times, since that's a negative 2, I have to move it to my numerator. So that's going to be ab squared. Okay, so my exponent becomes a positive 2. Okay, now we've gotten rid of the division, so now we just have to remember our multiplication rules. Okay, so that was yesterday's skill. Hopefully, if you didn't get it yesterday, maybe more practice today will help. And again, I know I say this 100 times in my videos, but if you don't understand, please ask me, okay? I'm literally sitting by my computer all day. I have my phone all day waiting to help, okay? So I see that these are all being multiplied and I have this exponent, so I have to distribute it to everything inside my parentheses. These are being multiplied, so I have to distribute it to everything inside my parentheses, okay? So if I have a power to a power, we have to multiply those two numbers. So I have a, 2 times 2 would be 4. I have b, 3 times 2 would be 6, times a to the first power to the second power would be a squared, and then b to the first power squared would be b squared. Okay, one more step to simplify. If they have the same base, so I have, let me change colors. I have an A and an A. Whoa, I don't know why I did the equal sign. All right, so A and A, so I take my exponents and now I add them together. Okay, so earlier it was a power to a power, so I multiplied. Okay, I only had one base that I was working with. Now I have the same base that I'm multiplying, so I add them together. So it'll be a to the sixth power. All right, and then I have b, whoops, and b, so I'm going to take those exponents and add them together. So that would be b to the 8. Okay, and that would be your final answer. All right, a lot going on. Like I said, take a deep breath in. We are halfway through. You can do it. If you need to take a break, pause the video, come back to it. Don't give up. Okay, so next one. So I see that I have x to the fourth power, y to the 0 over x to the negative 2. Okay, so there's two different rules here. First rule is I notice I've got to the 0 power. And I've also got to the negative 2 power. Okay, so anytime we have anything to the 0 power, we know it's understood to be 1. So basically, you can just get rid of it. So that's the great thing about the 0 property. So now we just have x to the fourth, and then we have x to the negative 2. So since it's a negative exponent, we're just going to move it to the numerator. So that's going to be x to the positive 2. So now I have x to the fourth times x to the second. I remember my rule. If I have the same base, x and x, I add my exponents together. So that would be x to the 6th power. Boom. And that will be your final answer. Yay. Okay. So let's look at this next one. All right, a lot going on here. So first thing we need to do is, well, first thing I notice is that I have this exponent out here. So I'm going to have to distribute it. And since it's just in the numerator, it's the parentheses isn't around the entire fraction, I wouldn't have to square the denominator, okay? It's just that parentheses is just around this stuff in the numerator, I'm sorry. So that's all I would have to distribute it to. So the same is true for this one down here. I'm going to take this exponent and just distribute it to that b squared. All right, so let's do that step first. All right, so 6 squared, that would be 36. A to the negative 1 squared. Erase these arrows, just makes it confusing. All right, so I have a power to a power, so I just multiply those. Negative 1 times a positive 2 would be a negative 2. And then I have b to the first power squared, so a power to a power. I would have b squared all over. I have b, and then I have that squared to the fourth power, so I just multiply them, and that's 8. All right, so now the last thing I need to simplify is I can't have this negative exponent, okay? So what I have to do is I'm going to have to move it to my denominator. All right, so now I'm going to have 36. That a is going to move to my denominator, so I'll just be left with b squared. And then I'll have b to the 8th power. And that a moved down here, and then my exponent became a positive 2. All right, but now I notice I have a b here in the numerator and a b here in the denominator. Okay, so I need to simplify it again. So that 36 stays. If I have the same base, I take the exponents and I subtract them. So that would be 2 minus 8 would be a negative 6 all over a squared. Well, once again, we have an issue. We cannot have this negative exponent. So I have to take it and I have to move it to my denominator. So I'll have 36. That b is going to move. That'll be a squared, b to the 6th power. And that will be my final answer. Okay, so there's multiple steps to that one. Okay, but again, it's just applying all of those rules we've talked about. All right, we are 2/3 of the way finished. Hang in there. All right, number 9. Actually, I think I'm just going to stop at number 10 because there's questions. They're good questions. Don't get me wrong. But my goodness, there's a lot going on here. Let's see which one I like the best. Okay, 9 or 10, 9 or 10. Let's do 10. All right. So first thing I notice is I have these negative. Well, for those of y'all that want to work them all out, I'll write the final answer. So the final answer for 9 is 9r cubed over u to the 11th power. If you want to work that out, you can. All right, and then, so 10, I notice I have a negative 3, and this negative 1. All right, so first thing I want to do is I just want to go ahead and get rid of those negative exponents. Okay, so that m and that t is going to move to my denominator. That's going to be m to the 3rd power, t to the 3rd power. All right, and then all of this, since that negative 1 is on the outside of this parentheses, we can take everything inside the parentheses and move it. Okay, so basically I'm going to take that and move it to my numerator. So that will be m squared t cubed. And all of it would be to the 1st power, but you don't, again, I've said that, you don't have to show that. Okay, so now we just simplify. I see that I have this base and this base. It's a division problem. So I'm going to take my exponents and I'm going to subtract them. So that's going to be m. 2 minus 3 would be negative 1. And then t to the 3rd power divided by t to the 3rd power, 3 minus 3 would be 0. Those cancel out. Okay, but we cannot leave this as a negative 1. So since that m is understood to be over 1, we just have to flip it. Whoops, that's an arrow. Okay, so that's going to be 1 over m to the 1st power. Yay! All right, last problem. We're going to do 11. All right, so we've got a lot going on here. Got all these kinds of variables going on, negative exponents, but, and this is why I said it's going to be your favorite, we have all of it to the 0 power. So anytime, and it's all in parentheses, so that to the 0 power accounts for every bit of this. So that means all of it equals 1. And that's your answer. And we're not doing 12. So, but if you do want to answer 12 and you want to know what the correct answer is, the final answer for this is m to the third power over, dang it cut off. (32) n to the 10th power. Good luck. You got it. Okay, so again, take a photo of your notes. Make sure they're neat, nice, and organized. Post them into an email. Send me a remind, or attach them into the Google Classroom assignment by Friday. All right, you can do this. We're almost through the first week. Good luck. Please ask questions. I miss y'all.